Bring the city council work session to order on Wednesday, December 13th, 2023 at 6 p.m. We are in person and virtual, and public is included. Can I get a roll call, please?
Corrigan here. Esty here.
Potter here. Padine here. And Ichari excused. And new business, I'll let you go ahead and take over from here, Ross. Welcome.
Thank you very much, council. Nice to be back. Appreciate you having me back. The work session, my plan would be to kick off the budget for 24-25. Here we go again. Not even done with 23 yet. But I think getting a jump on it, getting everybody kind of thinking about it's a good thing. On your desk somewhere should be a budget calendar, which I put together, and we'll talk about that kind of last before I conclude. Just wanted to say thanks for having me back and hello. And what I'd really like to do first is talk about last year's budget, any place in last year's budget where there were opportunities or things that didn't go well, and particularly in the process, can be addressed as need be, but more about the process of the budget and any place where we might find other opportunities to improve this year. So with that, I guess I'd like to ask council, any problems last year and things you're looking forward to this year?
Well, for the process, I didn't have any issues with the process. And I didn't have any issues with the budget itself, other than we were having to play cleanup last year from a messed up budget and then recreating basically a new budget. So we started from scratch, and so that was intensive for everybody, particularly you. And if we can avoid that this year, that I think that we'll be able to, because of the hard work that you did last year, I'm hoping we can just slip through the budget this year.
Yeah, I made my estimates for how long it would take me to get the budget done this year, and they were surprisingly less than what it took me last year, or maybe not surprisingly, but it's my intention to use the same spreadsheet that I used last year for this, which was passed down to me, but I think there's some cleanup in there, and I'll be glad to go through those things. I talked to staff earlier today about what they would like to see, so we can come up with some stuff.
And did they share with you the loan payment from a double payment to the loan? Did they share with you that?
No, I missed
No?
that.
The SDCs, that's what we talked about.
The SDC?
No.
SDC?
Oh, SDCs. Oh, no, I
It
missed.
went to the line payment.
Oh.
It was paid twice, is my understanding. Is that right, Jason?
Correct.
They talked about the SDCs, and I'm afraid that went over my head. So I'll look into that. So we actually made the payment twice. Was it budgeted twice, or?
That's what I don't know.
I don't know about it being budgeted twice, but it was paid twice.
I'll check with Kim. We can work through that, work that out.
That would be great.
Okay. Anything else in the process that might need, anything that was unclear, you know?
No, actually, you made it clear for us for probably the very first time ever.
This is what you get when you really like it.
Yeah. I know that there was some link issues, linking one budget with another budget and how those all played through. So maybe just.
Yeah, the payroll was the one that was by far the worst for me.
Yeah.
There were questions about that, and I didn't have good answers because I just myself didn't understand it, but
Yeah.
I did have a chance to just briefly look at your to-date figures, and it looks like everything's tracking pretty good. So I think we got enough money in to pay everyone for this year. And I think the fact that you guys have done the good work you've done with the
Wage scale.
wage scale and making wages now go up with the budget will be so much easier to
Consistent.
forecast, and transparency to the public should be so much better. I would defy any public person to go look through that budget last year and figure out how people are progressing,
Yeah.
so. Anyway, I think that will be a big, and I think there'll be a whole appendix on wages and payroll and that sort of stuff, so it's easy to see what's happening from year to year.
No, it definitely makes the process much clearer
Yes,
and transparent.
Yeah.
That's been really helpful for us too, as a
Good.
council and having to make decisions.
good, good. I'm glad you guys got that done. That's a good step.
Agreed. But process wise, I don't have any concerns on council.
Well, speaking of transparency, I spoke to staff earlier today, as I said, and we've come up with some, and I'm being a little open, putting words in their mouth, but when I say we came up with stuff, but these were things that we talked about. One is we'd like to add a fund for stormwater ops. Right now, there isn't one. The monies for stormwater operations comes out of sanitary or sewer funds. And I think it would be, once again, more transparent to people looking at the budget of those funds and resources were in an operating fund. There is a storm SDC, but having a storm fund would be better. I'm gonna, by the way, all of these suggestions, I'm gonna work up numbers, go through them with staff and make sure that that's kind of where we want to go. In order to add a new fund, I'll have to come to council anyway, and you guys have to pass water over it, so to speak. But you'll get a chance to see the ins and outs of that for all of these things, so.
Has stormwater and sewer all been combined into one
The operational part, the SDCs are
or
split,
separate?
are
Okay.
separate,
The operations is all one.
is all one, so if he has to do, it's, you know, included in the numbers for
Yeah.
sewer, so I think that'll also make it easier at some point to collect correctly for stormwater. I think your sewer is subsidizing stormwater, and most municipalities have that as another utility, if you will, so one way or another.
We do now, I think, have it listed on our utilities, right?
Yeah, we have a utility fee, which
Okay.
is
Utility
generated.
fee, but it's minimal.
Yeah, well, I think splitting it out will let you at least focus on what it's really
That would be
costing you.
good. That would be good.
We talked a little bit about the reserve funds, and I think transparency wise, I think there's confusion about why you put money in the reserves and when can you go get it, and when it goes back and forth. Some of the budgets I've worked with don't have reserve funds. Like I'll take the instance of a police car. If you were saving up for the next police car, you could put $10,000 in police car as a line item. If you don't spend it, it automatically rolls forward to the next year, becomes part of your beginning balance. So then you could put 20,000 in without really increasing the amount of money that you're saving. There's no reason to put it across in a reserve fund and then at some point transfer it back. So
Okay.
I think that becomes an easier.
How does reserve fund relate to contingency fund?
I think it's all words. I mean, let's face it, you got a beginning balance, you spend money, and you got an ending balance. And if it's the general fund, you can slice that up as many ways as you want or consolidate it. And so I really don't have a crisp answer for you for that. You know, contingency is usually used in budgetese as, you know, in a regular business, you'd have revenue, expense, and then operating income. Depreciation obviously is in there in businesses where you guys don't have it, but operating income for us is really contingency because revenue has to equal expenses and contingency is an expense. So therefore you balance your fund with contingency.
And it's all forecasted, so there's no real line items that are concrete because
Right.
it's unknown.
Yeah,
Okay.
and budget law says, gee, if you need more money for a particular expense, you can transfer money from contingency to that particular expense. And there's rules about how much out of contingency you can take without council approval, so.
So if we wanted to create, just for an example, a city hall building fund, that would be a reserve fund
Mhm.
that we could put in a little bit each year.
Yes, you could do that, and that's a way to go, but you have, I think you have a sewer reserve fund, you have a water reserve fund, you have a
Okay.
administrative reserve fund, you have a police reserve fund, and I forget what the other reserve fund is. I think there's 5 of them, and that's just 5 extra funds that require care and feeding and
Okay. I see.
working with. So, you know, it's totally up to council and how you guys want to save your money. But if you're looking for a building reserve fund or something, I think it would be better to identify that building and the money just keeps going in there. It never comes out. But right now we're using the reserve funds to put money in and take money out.
Oh,
I
see.
don't think there's any
Okay.
clear savings in mind for the reserve funds. They're just all reserves.
All right, that makes sense. Thank you.
So you'll get to see a presentation on that before you have to approve it or disapprove it anyway. Excuse me, I'm not used to talking as much. I'm not a city manager anymore, not doing any recruiting. We talked about a way to redistribute administrative costs. And I'll use, for instance, Kim as the court recorder
Mhm.
or court person. Well, maybe that's a bad one. I'll use the police. No, I'll use the city administrator. We've got city administrator appears in administration, appears in the water fund, appears in the sewer fund. Storm would take a piece of that. It hits about 5 different funds for the city administrator. I would propose putting everybody that's administration in the administrative fund, as well as toner cartridges or computer costs or whatever would all go into administration. You'd therefore be able to see how much administration for the city really costs you in one place instead of having to hit 5 different funds, adding them across, and then coming up with that cost. So all of the administrative staff would go into that fund and then be allocated to the water fund and the sewer fund instead of allocating every cost to all of those and doing it every time there's an allocation.
So it would be broken down into 0.05, 0.10, 0.25,
Which is what it is now.
which is what it is now. That is horrible.
Well, you can't really see if you're
You
looking
can't.
at the city administrator and you say, well, he made 100,000 last year, and this year he's making 110, and next year he should make what, or she should make. You really can't do that unless you add 5 numbers together, or you had a whole other appendix that has that in it. But this is just a different way to do it. There's certain pluses and minuses in both ways, but
How would the administrative fund then be funded? It would be the percentages from each of the
yes.
other funds?
Mhm. And it would be probably a council conversation about, okay, so we've got an administrative cost is X. Is there anything we want to deduct and have the tax money, if you will, pay for, and then we'll allocate the rest. So,
So most of it comes out of general fund?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, yes. Once again, I'll draw charts, graphs, and lines so that you understand it a little better than me just trying to tell you, but I think that's the way you really, I think it becomes more transparent. Once again, citizens can pick up the budget and look at the administrative fund and say.
Councils can pick it up.
Sure. So that was another change. I'd also like to include a CIP. Jason and I've talked a little bit about it, but it would be the first year of the budget would be year one, and then it would be a 5-year look at all of the capital improvement. Right now in the budget, you pretty much just get a line item, and the water source project, we're going to pay 100,000 next year for preliminary designs and some other stuff. But what you're really committing to is a $5 million project that's going to be spread out over several years. So I would like to include that for any of the capital projects that you're looking for. And I think that'll help once again with making the budget a little clearer document to look at. And I already talked about payroll costs. So those were the things that I talked to staff about today, and they seem to be interested in. So if there's something else that you're looking for in the change of the document, be glad to note it and look at it and give you some options. Changes sound like reasonable ones for me to pursue.
They're wonderful, yeah, they're wonderful.
Good.
I know staff talked to us briefly about, I know we need to get moving. We had the Christmas event here, the tree lighting event and all that. And we all agree that there needs to be some sort of fund for that event. And I know that that's coming up in the meeting tonight, but I'd like to see a certain amount set aside into a budget that we know we can count on, know that's going to be available to us.
Yeah, I think, that gets me to a line item probably in council. I can't remember the name of the fund, but council operations, you guys got $5,500 in there this year. Let's add a line for tree lighting ceremony and fund it.
Oh, okay, we can do that.
That's an easy way to go.
Okay. I like it.
Okay, anything else? With that, I hope you all have a preliminary budget calendar looks like this.
Yes.
Preliminary is for proposed budget calendars up there. This won't be official until February when I bring it to you in open session and say, hey, here's our budget calendar. But I would like to give you the opportunity at this point to check your calendars and all that stuff. If you've got a conflict or you think there's some, I don't know, got another city event during some of these dates, let Chief know and they'll let me know.
Do you prefer earlier in the month or later in the month of January?
For January, we talked about the 17th. Chief's gonna be gone during the second week, I think, of January.
Yeah, I'll be here for the council meeting, we had a conference.
Yeah, so if we could do the 17th, which is a Wednesday also.
I'm out of it. I won't be back in town until probably 9. I'm in a class in Eugene that day.
Okay, so the 17th doesn't work for you?
I'll be in Eugene.
How about
in
the two of
class.
you?
Yeah, if you guys pick any date, I mean, I'm flexible.
You're good? I'd really like you there.
We did it
I'll
I'll
last
be
year.
sitting in class till 5 o'clock that night
It won't work
in Eugene.
in Eugene.
So I won't be back here till probably 8 or 9.
We did it last year on a Friday, if I remember right, so. I'm open to any day that fits you guys.
So Friday, the 5th is council first Friday. We can do it then.
We can do it then.
The 12th. It's always a good day.
That means you're buying, is that?
The 26th, is that when you hold your police meeting is on the 26th, the last Friday of the month? Are you still doing that?
The 26th. Oh,
Yeah, but we could work through
Actually, that might work well, because then we could get all the staff here as well. including the officers, because they're coming anyway. That work?
That was my thought.
What do you think of the 26th? Everybody check your calendars.
Works for me if it
They
works
could
for
do it
you.
online.
January, correct?
January, yeah. Are you okay if we commandeer your meeting time? Okay. I'd like to include all staff initially, like for the first half hour or so,
Okay, fair enough.
and get their buy-in, and then meet
Move
with
on from
council,
there.
move on with council to
Okay.
finalize the goal planning.
And before that time, I'll get a copy of last year's goals out to you and kind of a status of them. I'll work with Chief Graven on that. So we have something to
So
go
you're
from.
good with that, Friday? Okay. Excellent. Friday, the 26th, can we start it early, like 4:30?
Works for me, earlier the better.
Well, I don't want staff to have to stay
Yeah.
too much later than their
that
normal.
works. Chief, that works for you, I'm assuming?
Chief?
Jason, you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that takes care of the goal setting, which I was gonna talk to you a little bit about, but I know what I know on that right this second. Like I said, I'll try to get some more information before the 26th. Have some place to go there. And then the rest of, I'm sorry.
It's just personal celebration over here.
So February would be appoint a budget officer, that'd be regular council. I would talk about March 20th, which is kind of a number I pulled out. But that would be a non-mandatory budget meeting, just to talk about any questions they might have on the process or what will be expected as changes in the budget document. No decisions to be made, it won't be a public meeting.
Okay,
Um,
and is everybody okay with having that on Valentine's Day?
So
Oh,
that's a little conflict, because that's gonna be a huge day at the restaurant, so
So you
if
would
we could
be,
do it a different day.
well, that's a council meeting, I think.
it is a
It is.
council
Is it?
meeting.
Yeah, so
So
that's
it'd
the only
be-
reason I did that.
No, I support that.
Yeah,
So maybe you guys want to change your council thing.
I just realized that I'm not gonna be here on the 26th of January.
Well, we'd like you to be, okay.
How about the
Um,
19th?
The 19th works fine for me.
Nineteenth, better day. How about you? Ann?
19th of January?
No 19th?
Yeah,
I'll look on my personal one this time too.
It doesn't work for you?
Doesn't work for me, no.
Same. I might be out of town, but I can do it.
How about this, so we talked about the 17th, that doesn't work. The 24th? Wednesday? You're good?
I'm good.
Ross,
good.
good?
yeah,
Shay,
I can do that.
24th, Wednesday?
I believe so, yeah. I don't have a life, so. I'll make it work.
Okay, so the 24th then is our January goal setting day.
All right,
At 4:30 still?
4:30, yes, please.
Okay,
There you go.
We got it.
so the 14th, how did we do there?
Well,
I don't need this, but whenever your council meeting is, so you guys have that chore to.
yeah, okay, we'll talk about that at the council meeting and see if we want to change that council meeting to a different time.
Okay,
Um,
and then the 20th, once again, it's not mandatory and it's not like you guys don't already know. This is more for the citizen side than I think it is council. You're welcome, but. And then the 18th would publish our first budget committee meeting notice. And then April 3rd would be the second notice. The 12th would be the budget committee receives the budget. And then the 17th, and once again, this is just me picking numbers out of here. The budget committee would meet to receive the budget message and first budget meeting. So if there's, heartburn as we get closer, let me know. We can change it, but. And then the 24th, or to be determined. I know we ran into a bump with that last year. Second budget committee meeting, depending on what they set up in the first budget committee. But I would propose April 24th. And then May 1st, publication of notice of approved hearing. That's the public meeting we gotta have for the budget. And then May 8th is the council meeting, and would expect to hold that public hearing as we did last year during that meeting. And then June 14th would be council adopting the budget and setting appropriations at your regular meeting, so. The only one that would be a big one would be April 17th. I kind of have to get that one screwed down because that goes in the meeting notice that's almost 30 days in advance, so. With that, the proposed budget calendar.
The date would be the 12th is our meeting. June 12th is the council meeting.
Oh, it's June 12th?
The June 14th is a Friday.
Oh.
12th is that Wednesday.
Oh, good, because I'll be out of town.
Okay,
Out of town that day
14th.
on the 12th.
I'll make
Oh, you'll
that.
be out of town on the 12th?
Yes.
Oh, no. Priority.
And with that, that's what I have for you.
That's excellent.
We've kicked off the budget.
All right, goals set in January, anything else for council related to budget? Okay, are we talking about staff, about Josh during work session?
We can.
Or do we want to, it's not on the agenda, but we had the information attached to it. Do we do that?
It's on the.
Work session agenda, it's not on that one,
Oh, yeah, it's not on the work session agenda, it's on the.
for a decision, right?
Either way works.
Okay. So in the review, Jason, I would just want to be clear for when we make a decision in council. He's currently a utility 1, correct?
Correct.
And there's no step because it's not even on there. Is that right? There's no step that he's at on there. So he's not like at step 2 or step 3 or step 4. There's
That's
just,
step one.
One,
Just step one.
okay, we did move to step
Yeah.
1. Okay, thank you. And you're proposing to promote to utility 2, step 1.
Correct.
Thank you for the review. It was helpful.
Yes.
And Greg, do you have any recommendations before we close?
Jason and I discussed it, and the decisions that are being proposed are inaccurate with depicting the job performance and so forth, as well as there not being currently anything in the utility worker 2 and making accommodations for that.
Okay, excellent. And I saw the goals that you set. I'm excited to see those goals for him. The ones that he's completed already and the ones that he has set up for himself. That's wonderful. Okay, I don't have any more questions on that. Council?
I don't.
No? Are we ready to adjourn work session? All right, we're adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
See you next month.
You know you can just stay if you want to.
Oh.